For our last programming assignment, we are going to finish up the lesson 2 problem set. Lesson 2 problem set. This is the last one for the semester. You guys have come an incredible distance, You're doing great. If you're loving it, if you like it, if it's interesting to you, I really encourage you to continue on with it and go pick up that Gaddis book on Python. I know it's a little bit of money, but here we go. There we go. I'm reading the 3rd edition because that's most current. But you get the 2nd edition for a little bit less money, and you're well on your way to learning Python. And you can also check out GeekWise Academy in Fresno, California, if you happen to be local. And you can go look at their courses, and they have Python classes. Check them out. They have courses on Python for about $250, and it's cool. It's nice to hang out with people who are programming and figure it out. So get the book. Take one of those courses, and for your last assignment, you're going to do the rest of problem set 2. You got 4 things here. The first one, I'm just going to go through them, so if you want to do them on your own, go for it. If you want to come back and see my take on the solutions, please do that. The first one is to do a blast off, so it's going to print 3, 2, 1 blast off. It's going to look like that, 3, 2, 1 blast off. How do we get it to do that? We define a procedure where it receives a number, so we start counting down at some number. We use a while loop. Right? So while n is greater than or equal to 1, right? So if n started out as 7, is 7 greater than and equal to 1? Yes, we'll print 7. And now let's set n equal to n minus 1. So n is going to be 7 minus 1, it'll be 6. Is 6 greater than or equal to 1? Yeah, print 6. Right? And now we'll take 6 minus 1, which will be 5, and set that equal to n. Is 5 greater than or equal to 1? Yeah, print 5. So we'll roll through that, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right? And then is 1 greater than or equal to 1? Yeah. So it'll print 1. And then 1 minus 1 is 0. Is 0 greater than or equal to 1? No. So then it'll jump out of the loop and it'll print blast off. That's how you do that one. The next one is just kind of like, one of those multiple choice ones. And then the next one here is a procedure that does something. Let's run it and see what it does. 3, 3, -1, 8, 9, -1, 0. What's it doing? Well, it's taking a string, right? And let's do this one here. Let's make these all x's actually, x, 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 and then make it a, right? So we'll look at that first one. And it's taking a string and it's saying find in the string the last position of a letter. So the last position of this letter is 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, sorry, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So its position 4 is A. What if I had A's before that? Right? Will it still be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4? It's still 4. And so if it wasn't finding if I didn't create this procedure to find the last position, it would just return the first position. So how do I find when there's repetitive characters or repetitive string I'm going to search for within another string? How do I find the last one? That's basically what this is asking. And so here's the way I did that. Here's my procedure to find the last occurrence of what I'm looking to find in the string I'm going to search. And to do that, I'm going to create an iteration. So I'm basically going to keep trying to find the same thing over and over until I found the last one. And when you can't find something in a string, this is important to know, it returns -1. So let me just demonstrate that here in a Python shell. So let's say I have name is equal to Todd, and name.find, right? And then I'm going to, here we go, just look at this, make sure, search.find, to find, I'm going to look for Fred within that string, and I'm going to start at position 0. Right, and it returned -1. It couldn't find Fred. But if I did name find and I said let's look for just T and let's start at position 0, right? Well, it found it because T is at position 0. And if I did name.find and I said look for T starting at position 1, it's not going to find it because we started looking right there, right, at 0. So we passed it. If I did name.find and said let's look for D, right, and we'll start at position 0, it found 2, 0, 1, 2. So the first D is at position 2. Well, how would I find that second D? Or if there's multiple Ds, right, oops, I can't really change it up there. How would I find the multiple D? So the main thing to know is when it doesn't find something, it returns -1. And so I can say, hey, search, this is a string I'm going to search, and within it find what I'm looking for, and starting at position I, and I is initially set to 0. So, hang on. So, yeah, so, sorry, somebody just came to the door, and I had to get up. Well, I don't know where I was. Finding starting at position 0, we're searching this string, we're looking within it, try to find within it whatever that is, and we're starting at position 0. And so each time we go through this loop, we could add 1 to the position we start at, like, hey, look from position 0 on, position 1 on, position 2 on. So just like you saw with this, right, where I was like, oh, let's look for T starting at position 0. Yeah, we totally found it. It's at position 0. Let's look for T starting at position 1. Nope, we didn't find it because we started right here, right? And so that's the same thing we're doing here. Is like we'll start at position 0, we'll start at position 1, we'll start at position 2, we'll go to position 3, and we'll just keep at each of the positions looking for it. And so each time through this loop, we're going to add one of the positions we're looking for. And then I'm going to create a variable to hold, like where did I find it? Right, so here I found, right here I found T at position 0. We started at position 0, and I also found it at position 0. Here I found D. I started looking at position 0, and I found D at position 2. Right, 0, 1, 2. And so the holder variable is going to hold what position I find one of the characters at. And if it doesn't find the character anymore in the string, so if I look for like T starting at position 1, right? Well, I'm already past the T, so it's not going to find any more T's because it's going to look from here forward, and there's no T's in that. And so I get -1. So holder is equal to -1. I'm going to break out of my loop because that means there's nothing left in the string for what I'm looking for, right? It couldn't find it from this position forward. It couldn't find it. And I'm going to have a variable called position found where it's going to hold whatever position was the last time it's found. So look at how it works. So let's put to search. Let's put here to search. I'm just going to make a copy of this because I'm going to destroy it. So I'm going to type all over it. There we go. We got a copy of it. So to search, the string will be Todd, right? And to find, we'll do T. And so now what we're searching for, we're searching in Todd, and we're trying to find T. And I is equal to 0, and initially position found is equal to -1, meaning it's not found. And the first time through, I is equal to 0, and so we're trying to find T starting at position 0, and then, or let's find D. Sorry, we're trying to find D starting at position 0, looking within this string. And so, does it find it? Yeah, it finds it at 0, 1. Sorry, 0, 1. 2. It finds it at position 2 right there. And so the holder is now equal to 2. Is 2 equal to -1? No, it's not. So position found is now equal to 2, right? That's kind of how it evaluates. And so position found is now 2. And then we add 1 to this I character, which is right here. So now that's going to be 1 right there. And so starting at position 1, do we find it again? Yeah, and it's still 2. And so, is 2 equal to -1? It's not. So we come down to this. So position found is equal to 2. And now we add 1 to that. And so now this is going to be 2. And we start looking for D at position 2. 0, 1, 0, 1, 2. Right there. Is there a D? Yes, position 2. Right? Cool. So is 2 equal to -1? It's not. So the position found is still 2. And then we add 1 here starting at position 3. Right? Well, position 3 is 0, 1, 2, 3. Is there a D there? Yeah, actually, that's a D. And so position found, so that becomes 3, right? And position found becomes 3. And then this goes back up to 4. And then we start looking for D at position 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, and there is no 4. So it returns a -1, right? And we break out of that. And now we return the position found, which was set right there, to 3. And 3, 0, 1, 2, 3 is the last position of the character for which we were looking. So I know it's that logic thing again, but that's how I came up with it. So you can look in here and find the last position of whatever you're searching for. And here are examples that I ran to test the code. So take a look at that code and then take a look at the examples down below, and there are the results. The last one is to create a multiplication table. And a multiplication table is a loop within a loop. And the best way to understand this is just to look at the result. So we're going to have 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times, see, we're creating a multiplication table. And it's going to be for, you know, everything through 3's, right up through my 3's. 3 by 3 is 9. So how do we create this multiplication table? Well, if you look at it, there's a pattern going on here. Just look at the left side. We've got 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. And then look at the middle. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we're going to have a loop that loops first 1, 2, 3, right? Or whatever, to however many numbers we tell it to. And then we're going to have a loop that goes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And so basically we need 2 loops that go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And the outer loop, for each time it's 1, for 1 in the outer loop, the inner loop will loop 3 times. For 2 in the outer loop, the inner loop will loop 3 times. For 3 in the outer loop, the inner loop will loop 3 times. Right? So we have an outer loop, there's my outer loop, and we have an inner loop. And we're going to have these go from 1 to 3. Right? So this will go from 1 to 3, and okay, let's do the first one. And what does it do? Well, now it's going to run the inner one 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Right? Okay, now let's do the second one. What's it do? Now it's going to run the inner one 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And now let's do the outer loop for the third time. And what's the inner loop do? It runs 1, 2, 3. That's when n is equal to 1. So what's the code for it to do that? First, I'm going to set the outer loop equal to 1 and the inner loop equal to 1, because we want these numbers starting at 1, right? The outer loop always starts at 1, 1, 1, 1, and the inner loop always starts at 1. Inner loop always starts at 1. So we say outer loops and inner loop are at 1. And while the outer loop is less than or equal to n, so if this was 3, right, 3, 3, right, well, is 1 less than or equal to n? Yeah. Is 1 less than or equal to 3? Yes, it is. Okay, so then we come down here, and here we have the inner loop is 1, because this is n also right there. Is 1 less than or equal to 3? Yeah. So it's going to run this 3 times, 1, 2, 3, because it'll come down here, run this code, it'll add 1 to n, right? And then this will be 2. Is 3 less than or equal, it'll add it right here, sorry, is come down and it will add 1 to the inner loop. And now inner loop is 2. Is 2 less than or equal to 3? Yes, it is. And so I'll run this code again, and I'll add 1 more to the inner loop. Is 3 less than or equal to 3? Yes, it is. So I'll run this code again, I'll add 1 more to the inner loop. Is 4 less than or equal to 3? No, it's not. So I'll come down here and add a number to the outer loop. Outer loop is now equal to 1 plus 1, which is equal to 2. So is 2 less than or equal to 3? Yes, it is. And that's where this starts, right? And so it'll come back down here, and it'll say, okay, now inner loop is once again set to 1, and 1 is less than 3. Run this code. Okay, and then it hits here, and it adds 1 to that. 2 is less than 3. Add 1. Run the code right there. Okay, now 3 is less than or equal to 3. Run the code out here. 4. No, that's not less than or equal to 3. So then it comes down here and adds 1 more, and we got 3 now is less than or equal to 3. So it just does that. For each outer loop, it does the inner loop. For each outer loop, it does the inner loop. For each outer loop, it does the inner loop 3 times. For each outer loop, it does the inner loop 3 times, or however many times n is set to. So let me change these back to n. And now let's just look at this code. What's it do? Well, it's going to print the outer loop, and this little string function right there, str, takes the number and turns it into a thing which will actually print, right? Which is text. That's what string means. It's a string of text. So outer loop, and then just wrap it in this little string function. So it prints the number of the outer loop, which for the first 3 iterations is 1. And then it prints the number of the inner loop, as that loop's 1, 2, 3. Right? And then it prints, you know, also the star, the multiplication symbol, and the equal sign, the multiplication symbol, and the equal sign. And then it prints the output of outer loop times inner loop, and turns that into a string. So the multiplication of that turns that into a string and prints that number. So that's how that works. And as I change this number, I could do it 4. All right, and it does the multiplication tables for 4. Now each loop is running 4 times. We see the outer loop goes up to 4, and the inner loop is going to 4. That's because when I pass in 4, in becomes 4. I could do this to, heck, should we go crazy? 90? That's going to be long. Look at how long that is. What a huge multiplication table. That's crazy. 90 times 90 is 8,100. But each loop is running 90 times. So this first loop runs all the way to here, and then the inner loop ran 90 times right there. So that's kind of how the loop within a loop works. I hope that made sense. I explain it with gusto and enthusiasm, if nothing else. All right, congratulations. You've come a long ways with programming, and I really hope you continue with it. It's a skill that's useful and beneficial and will serve you well in your life and help make you money, and plus allow you to have fun and create creative stuff. So you can create apps. How awesome is that? Create apps for phones and become, well, it's about having a good time. That's what it's about. All right, good job.